They come into this weekend series after this much talked about 16 games in 16-day stretch, Tim. And they went 8-8 in those 16 games. And before that stretch started, I had told Bickley, hey, this is a very telling stretch of the schedule. It's going to tell you a lot about what the Arizona Diamondbacks are. And they went 8-8. And they went from being 3.5 games out of first place to being 6 games out of first place. I fear that this stretch was who they are, a 500 baseball team.
That you were right.
But they have so much more potential. And now I think what this stretch of schedule represents, starting with a visit from the Rockies, is a chance to make some hay, to stack some wins. And Luke just asked a question. Do the Diamondbacks need to sweep the Rockies? Yes, they do. When you have a team that is this bad, it's already fired its manager. They're setting records for futility, and they've won 2 of 22 road games so far this year. Absolutely, you need to bury this team, and anything less than a sweep, in my opinion, will be a disappointment.
Yeah, you can't lose one game. You
No.
can't lose one. I mean, usually, okay, sweeps are tough to do even against the mediocre to poor teams in baseball. The Rockies are 75 levels below poor. Right? I mean, there'll be no excuse to lose even a single game to this baseball team, especially the specter of 3 on the road in LA against the Dodgers immediately following this series.
I mean, they get swept a lot. They get swept more than a basketball floor. Lost to they've been swept by the Phillies on the road. They got swept. Let's see, who else did it? San Diego swept them in San Diego. The Dodgers swept them.
I mean, just from a sheer math
the Kansas
standpoint.
City Royals, the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, Vinny, when you're 7-36, it's you have to get swept a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mathematically impossible to not be victims of a sweep.
And they just got swept most recently, 3 games in Texas against the Rangers. They scored a grand total of 5 runs. So these aren't even like the mediocre to bad Rockies teams that you would fear their offense. They're not even scoring runs. Got to sweep this team.
No, and they right before they let go of Bud Black, I mean, they lost a game 21-0, which tells you about the disposition in that clubhouse that these guys are already they're already ready for Cancun. It's mid-May.
Well, and Corbin Burnes today, Zach Gallen, and then Merrill Kelly. It's your 3 best pitchers.
It is. And Corbin Burnes, I'm glad you went there, Sammy. Corbin Burnes, how would you rate if I hate giving grades, and anybody that listens to the show knows I hate giving grades on things. But for lack of a better scale right now, what grade would you give Corbin Burnes so far as a Diamondback?
You know what? Just the wins aren't there. And obviously when you spend that kind of money and you have those kind of hopes for a pitcher, you hope that it's a W almost every time he takes the ball.
Yes.
So, I mean, I get – but I don't think he's pitched poor. I think he's pitched better than his record.
Here's my point. If you asked 100 diehard Diamondbacks fans that didn't have the numbers in front of them, what would you guess Corbin Burnes' ERA is? I think you'd get a lot of guesses in the mid-4s to 5s. His ERA is 2.95, which I saw that and I went, that doesn't register with what my eyeballs have told me, but that's how good he is and that's how high the bar is.
Yes, and I also think that sometimes, listen, a pitcher's win-loss record is really cosmetically great to look at and sometimes makes guys a whole lot of money, but it doesn't always tell the entire story.
Yeah, and the Diamondbacks are 4-3 in Corbin Burnes starts so far. But this is, again, a chance for him.
Right.
And he's been great his last 2 outings. He's given up 1 earned run in 13 innings against the Mets and the Dodgers. You'll take that. So it looks like he's coming into... coming into midseason.
I was going to say, what would you, after 7 Corbin Burnes starts, what would your expectations be? 6-1, 5-2. Okay, well, they're 1 game worse than 5-2, and it's a long season to go. And he's pitching. Obviously, the ERA tells you that he's pitching pretty well, and I expect that to continue. And I expect him to stay in a groove. They're with guys in and out of the lineup, Vinny, it's like they just haven't been able to put it together, and that division is unrelenting, and now they're getting into division games. Obviously, it's a little bit of a break this weekend.
Yes.
But they better, as you said, like, who are they? Are they a 500 baseball team? They can be, they should be, and you hope that they will be ultimately better than that.
Yeah, but I also, I say, what's acceptable, and anything less than a sweep is unacceptable in my opinion, but it also puts pressure on a team like the Diamondbacks, because if you lose one, you lose two to the Rockies, you lose this series to Colorado, that plants a seed of doubt in this ball club moving forward.
Like, if we lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, like, what are we saying on Monday? That, with our 3 best pitchers on the mound, we're pretty healthy as a lineup. I mean, Cattell up and down, but like something would have had to go extremely wrong.
Well, I mean, I think that's when Torey Lovullo comes into the showers and throws the big, thing of bats.
Everybody in the shower.
I mean,
Larry, what does that make them?
Because if you lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, that's not a talent issue. Okay, that to me speaks to your mental makeup and some toughness and some resolve that needs to be addressed immediately by the manager. I would think, and maybe that should be happening already.
They haven't won a series here.
So it can't happen. It can't happen here. It can't happen now.
No. The Cattell Marte question, we played the soundbite from Torey Lovullo coming into this segment. He said, look, I'm very confident he'll play. We haven't had an update. They had an off day yesterday. But this is a lingering thing. Bick's already lost his mind on the Cattell Marte front a couple of times. And not just Cattell Marte, but the Torey Lovullo and organizational belief on days off. And it gets exhausting after a while, especially since Cattell Marte hasn't played a lot of baseball this year. And when he asked out of the game, and Torey Lovullo granted that, but how much is this going to linger? How far into the season? Because Cattell Marte, if he is not being the Cattell Marte that he can be, I think all bets are off. I don't think this is a playoff caliber team without a very productive Cattell Marte.
Yeah, I mean, he might not have to be an MVP candidate like he's been in years past. But yeah, no, after the 2 home runs on Wednesday, he's got 5 in the month of May. That's good. But the batting average in May, not good. It's just a shade over 200 in May. And they need him to be Cattell Marte. There's just no question about it. But again, it's they got to get that bullpen in line now, and they get the health squared away in terms of who they're going to. Because when a bullpen is successful, guys know their roles. And you kind of get into that groove where you feel confident that you have competent guys out there that can get the job done. They're still kind of they're vacillating, and health is a big reason why. I mean, but at some point that has to settle down, and the lineup has to settle down. And they got to figure out what they're going to do going forward with Lawler, now that he's here. Is that a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing? What's the plan there?
It sounds like it's going to be a long-term thing, but I raised the question yesterday, is that the best situation for the jewel of your farm system? He's the 4th-rated prospect in all of baseball. And now add what he's done since he's been with the big club this year. And I know 2023 was maybe not the greatest indicator of what he's capable of doing, but he's hitting like 115 as a major leaguer. And, making not great plays in the field. We saw the obstruction call. They got away with it. Didn't cost them a run. Very well could have.
People would throw out the term quadruple A player. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
4A player.
Yeah.
He's like too good for triple A, but not good enough for the majors.
You know what? He also, though, for peace of mind and to settle in as a young player in the big leagues, he kind of needs a job. Like this, dude. This is your job. You are our third baseman. This job is yours. You're not going to get yanked. You're not going to get sent down. And let him settle down and kind of gain that confidence, knowing that he's not going anywhere. Now,
but they also don't have that luxury with a payroll north of $200 million and aspirations to make the playoffs. That is what teams with no expectations do, and it usually pays off because you could plug Jordan Lawler in. Hey, you're our everyday shortstop. Oh, that's Geraldo Perdomo. He likes to play every day. Gino Suarez likes to play every day. So he's going to get these sporadic defensive reps at 3 different positions. And
I'm not sure that's healthy for a young player trying to find his way in the big leagues.
I'm not sure either because we don't have any proof that he can do it. He hasn't looked comfortable at the major league level yet, in my opinion. I'm rooting for him because, as I said yesterday, one of the exciting things about being a baseball fan is when a prize prospect that came through your system comes up and either makes his major league debut or starts playing a really pivotal role for your team. It energizes the fan base.
Yeah.
I hope he can. Maybe this is the weekend he can turn it around against the bad Rockies.
You almost got to. It's just like you got to ride out the turbulence early on. I mean, I think. You can't paint a broad brush and say every rookie goes through this, but at some point, usually, Rookies will come up and they'll struggle right away, or they'll come out and they'll be like a house on fire.
And then level out.
And then level out and actually dip down, and they'll go through that first slump. I mean, so everybody has those kind of growing pains when it comes to hitting the baseball, fielding the baseball too a little bit. So, but they know they have a job. You know, they know they're there to stay, and they got to work through that. And the great players ultimately obviously do.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.